Imagine waking up every morning not to birds chirping, but to the distant echo of sirens. Picture walking down a familiar street, yet feeling a constant knot of anxiety in your stomach, knowing that danger could be lurking around any corner. For millions of Americans, especially black residents, this is not a nightmare. They live this reality every single day. The United States, often celebrated for its freedom and opportunity, hides a darker side. Cities where crime, poverty, and inequality have created environments where safety feels like a luxury rather than a guarantee. In this video, we are diving deep into 14 cities that are considered the most dangerous, exploring why residents face daily threats from violent crime, gang activity, and social disparities. From bustling urban centers with vibrant cultures to quieter towns struggling with economic decline, these cities share one unsettling truth: living here requires vigilance, resilience, and awareness. But this is not just about statistics. It is about understanding the lived experiences of people navigating these challenges every day. We will uncover the factors driving crime rates, from historic policies of segregation and systemic inequities to modern struggles like housing instability and unemployment. By shining a light on these realities, we hope to provide insight for those considering relocation, travel, or simply wanting to understand the complex social fabric of America. If you are ready to explore the hidden dangers behind the city lights and hear stories that most guides won't tell you, make sure to stay tuned. Do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our future deep dives into the cities and issues shaping life in America today. Your safety and awareness start here. Let us uncover the truth together. In the heart of Kentucky, Louisville presents a story of stark contrasts, a city of scenic riverfronts, historic neighborhoods, and cultural landmarks. Yet beneath this picturesque exterior lies a reality that many residents navigate with caution every day. Walking through neighborhoods like Russell or Park Duval, the hum of city life is punctuated by the shadows of uncertainty, where gang activity and violent crime are persistent threats, and families live with the constant awareness that safety is never guaranteed. Here, the high rates of homicides are not random anomalies, but rather reflections of deeper systemic challenges. Poverty and unemployment thread through the city's social fabric, creating cycles that are difficult to break, and the impacts of long-standing inequality ripple across generations, shaping the opportunities available or denied to its residents. Even as the city invests in policing initiatives and community programs, these efforts grapple with issues far larger than immediate crime, tackling entrenched economic disparities, limited access to quality education, and the lingering effects of historic neglect in certain neighborhoods. Traveling south to Little Rock, Arkansas, the scene shifts, but the story is eerily familiar. The city may be known for its riverfront charm and historical significance, yet violent crime dominates the headlines and the lived experience of its residents. Neighborhoods that should be safe havens are instead marked by frequent incidents of assault, robbery, and gun violence, painting a portrait of a city grappling with the stark realities of social inequity. In Little Rock, the challenges of crime are inextricably linked with economic struggle. Families navigating low-income circumstances often confront the dual pressures of surviving daily dangers while contending with limited resources and opportunities. Here, community programs and law enforcement operate against a backdrop of systemic challenges, where addressing the root causes of crime, poverty, lack of access to education, and structural inequality is as critical as responding to immediate threats on the streets. Further down in Mississippi, Jackson reveals another chapter of this story, one that intertwines crime with a crumbling infrastructure and historical neglect. Residents here contend with high rates of violent crime, but also with the everyday reality of a city whose essential services struggle to keep pace with the population's needs. The water crisis that periodically grips Jackson is not merely an inconvenience, but a stark illustration of the long-term consequences of systemic underinvestment, magnifying the challenges faced by residents already navigating economic hardship and community vulnerability. In neighborhoods with limited resources, the intersection of poverty, unemployment, and crime creates an environment where safety is fragile, and residents are forced to exercise vigilance in ways that outsiders may find unimaginable. Gary, Indiana, once celebrated for its industrial strength and cultural heritage, now stands as a cautionary tale of economic decline and its human cost. The massive steel mills that once powered the city and provided stable employment have largely shuttered, leaving a void that economic hardship alone cannot explain. As jobs disappeared, poverty intensified, and with it came a surge in violent crime, creating neighborhoods where the sound of sirens has become as commonplace as the wind blowing through abandoned buildings. The decline in population, the erosion of public infrastructure, and the rise of gang activity all converge in Gary, crafting a reality where opportunity and safety are scarce commodities. Residents live with the echoes of a once thriving city, navigating daily life through streets marked by uncertainty, yet carrying forward the resilience that has defined the community for generations. Across these cities, Louisville, Little Rock, Jackson, and Gary, the common thread is clear: high rates of violent crime, gang activity, and homicides are not isolated phenomena but symptoms of enduring social and economic inequities. Poverty, unemployment, and systemic inequality have shaped the landscapes of these communities, influencing the lives of their residents in profound ways. The stories of these cities are not simply tales of statistics and headlines. They are narratives of struggle, resilience, and the ongoing quest for safety and opportunity in environments where both are often in short supply. On the West Coast, cities like Portland, Seattle, and San Francisco tell a story that is very different from the industrial struggles of the Midwest and the South. Yet the challenges faced by Black residents are no less pressing. Portland, once celebrated for its vibrant arts scene and walkable neighborhoods, now grapples with a surge in property crime that has quietly reshaped daily life. For many residents, leaving a car unattended or stepping outside after dark carries an undercurrent of unease, a constant reminder that safety is fragile and the promise of community stability is tenuous at best. Homelessness, a visible and growing crisis, blankets the city in uncertainty, with tents and encampments proliferating in areas where families and individuals should feel secure. These conditions are compounded by gentrification, which, while transforming historic neighborhoods into trendy hubs, often displaces long-standing residents and erodes community networks that once provided informal protection and support. For Black residents in particular, this process of displacement and marginalization intensifies the sense of vulnerability, highlighting how economic pressures and racial inequities intertwine to shape everyday life in ways that are often overlooked in city statistics. In Seattle, the narrative unfolds against a backdrop of tech-driven prosperity, yet the promise of wealth has not translated into security for all. Rising property crime in neighborhoods like the Central District, historically a cultural hub for Black communities, paints a stark contrast between the city's booming skyline and the struggles on the streets below. Gentrification has transformed the neighborhood into a landscape of luxury condos and high-end cafes, displacing families who have called these streets home for generations. The resulting fragmentation of the community erodes informal social networks, leaving residents exposed to threats that once may have been mitigated by strong local bonds. Homelessness adds another layer of complexity, with encampments proliferating in parks and underpasses, creating environments where daily survival takes precedence over long-term planning. Black residents, who historically contributed to the cultural and economic vibrancy of the city, now navigate a reality where opportunities for security and stability are scarce, and the promise of inclusion feels increasingly out of reach. San Francisco, often romanticized for its iconic bridges and foggy streets, presents yet another dimension of these urban struggles. Here, the intersection of property crime, homelessness, and gentrification has produced a city where inequality is impossible to ignore. Streets once populated by diverse communities are now dotted with high-end developments and luxury apartments, while those who have been marginalized are forced into precarious living situations, frequently encountering harassment or theft. For Black residents, the impact is particularly acute, as historical patterns of exclusion and systemic discrimination amplify the effects of rising property crime and economic displacement. The combination of visible poverty, transient populations, and uneven law enforcement creates neighborhoods where vigilance is a necessity and the sense of security is often fleeting. Across Portland, Seattle, and San Francisco, the experiences of Black residents are shaped by forces that extend far beyond individual incidents of crime. Homelessness, gentrification, and racial marginalization converge to create an environment where safety is precarious and stability is constantly threatened. The stories of these cities are a testament to the complex interplay between economic inequality, urban transformation, and systemic racial disparities, illustrating how prosperity for some can coexist with vulnerability and risk for others. Walking through these streets, it becomes clear that the challenges are not simply matters of law enforcement or policing. They are woven into the very fabric of urban life, requiring an understanding of history, policy, and community dynamics to fully grasp the realities faced by those who navigate them daily. In some of America's largest and most iconic cities, the allure of towering skylines and bustling streets is matched by a complex and often harsh reality for those navigating life as a Black resident. Los Angeles, with its sprawling neighborhoods and diverse population, offers endless opportunities and cultural richness. Yet beneath the glitz and glamour lies a landscape marked by persistent crime and systemic inequality that shapes daily life in profound ways. High-density living in areas like South Central and East La mean crowded streets, congested public spaces, and an undercurrent of tension where personal safety is never guaranteed. Gang activity, while less visible than in past decades, still casts a shadow over certain communities, and property crime, from vehicle break-ins to home burglaries, is a frequent concern that forces residents to remain constantly vigilant. The economic disparities between neighborhoods are stark, and for many Black residents, limited access to well-paying jobs and quality education compounds the sense of precariousness, leaving security and stability just out of reach. In New York City, the city's legendary energy and ambition coexist with the realities of crime, overpopulation, and socioeconomic divides that shape the experiences of its Black communities. Neighborhoods like the Bronx and parts of Brooklyn have historically served as cultural hubs, producing music, art, and activism that resonate far beyond city limits. Yet these areas also contend with high crime rates and the challenges of urban density. Navigating crowded subways, busy intersections, and public spaces where pickpocketing and petty theft are common requires a level of situational awareness that becomes a daily ritual. And the constant presence of law enforcement does not always translate into a sense of safety, particularly for residents who have historically faced systemic bias. The juxtaposition of wealth and poverty is striking, with luxury high-rises casting shadows over struggling communities, creating an environment where opportunity and risk coexist uneasily. Philadelphia, with its deep historical roots and vibrant cultural heritage, presents yet another picture of urban complexity. The city's dense neighborhoods are home to Black communities that have thrived for generations, contributing to the arts, politics, and civic life. Yet persistent crime and socio-economic disparities continue to shape everyday experiences. High rates of violent crime, coupled with traffic dangers in busy streets and intersections, mean that routine activities, from walking to the store to commuting to work, carry inherent risks. Economic inequality is particularly evident in housing and employment, where systemic barriers often limit access to safe neighborhoods and stable livelihoods, amplifying the vulnerability of residents. The historical patterns of segregation and marginalization that have defined parts of Philadelphia are still visible in the uneven distribution of resources, reinforcing cycles of risk and insecurity that persist across generations. Across Los Angeles, New York City, and Philadelphia, the challenges faced by Black residents are deeply intertwined with the structure of urban life itself. High-density living, persistent crime, and socioeconomic disparities converge to create environments where vigilance, resilience, and community solidarity become essential tools for survival. These cities, while celebrated for their cultural influence and opportunities, remind us that the promises of urban life are not equally shared, and that safety and quality of life are often contingent upon navigating a web of economic, social, and systemic realities that shape every corner of daily experience. In walking these streets, one sees the complex interplay of hope and hazard, where the vibrancy of city life exists alongside enduring challenges that demand both awareness and advocacy for change. In coastal and capital cities such as Miami and Washington, D.C., the urban landscape presents a unique set of challenges that shape the day-to-day experiences of both residents and visitors, particularly within Black communities that have historically faced systemic barriers and economic inequities. Miami, often celebrated for its vibrant culture, sunny beaches, and international appeal, masks a complex reality where violent crime, property theft, and social disparities are persistent concerns that can influence every aspect of life. Neighborhoods away from the well-known tourist corridors often experience higher rates of robbery, home break-ins, and street-level crimes, forcing residents to adopt strategies for safety that go beyond casual awareness. The tropical climate, while a draw for millions of visitors, also introduces environmental hazards such as hurricanes and extreme heat, which amplify vulnerabilities in communities already contending with limited access to emergency services and adequate infrastructure. The threat of flooding during storm seasons, combined with poorly maintained housing in economically disadvantaged areas, can turn routine living into a high-stakes challenge, where both natural and human-made dangers coexist and demand constant vigilance. Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, presents a similarly layered environment. Its streets, monuments, and government buildings attract millions. Yet beyond the iconic facades, neighborhoods grapple with violent crime, property theft, and the ongoing pressures of gentrification and racial marginalization. For Black residents, these issues intersect with historic patterns of segregation and unequal access to resources, creating a lived reality where safety is never taken for granted. The city's density and political significance amplify risks, as public spaces can become flashpoints for crime, while the disparities in public services and infrastructure leave some communities disproportionately exposed to hazards such as flooding, pest infestations, and heat-related health challenges. Daily life, demands an acute awareness of surroundings, a careful navigation of public transit and streets, and reliance on strong community networks to mitigate the sense of vulnerability that often accompanies urban living. Both Miami and Washington, D.C. illustrate how urban safety is not solely defined by crime statistics but by the complex interplay of environmental risks, socioeconomic disparities, and historical inequities that shape the lived experiences of Black residents. The allure of city life, the culture, entertainment, and economic opportunities exists alongside persistent challenges that influence decisions as mundane as commuting, grocery shopping, or walking through a neighborhood at night. The juxtaposition of vibrant city life with these risks underscores a reality often overlooked. Safety is a multidimensional concept, affected not only by human behavior but also by geography, climate, and the uneven distribution of social and economic resources. For those navigating Miami's sun-soaked streets or the politically charged avenues of Washington, D.C., resilience and situational awareness are essential. Yet they are only part of the equation. Community solidarity, advocacy for equitable infrastructure, and attention to environmental preparedness are crucial elements that define how residents experience these urban centers. The cities, while emblematic of opportunity and cultural richness, remind us that urban living carries layers of complexity, where every sunny sidewalk or historic street corner can coexist with threats that are as systemic as they are immediate. In witnessing these realities, it becomes clear that the notion of safety extends far beyond the surface, shaped by a confluence of social, environmental, and historical factors that collectively influence the quality of life for those who call these cities home. As we reflect on the realities faced by Black residents in these 14 cities, it becomes clear that the challenges are not merely about individual neighborhoods or isolated incidents, but stem from systemic issues that have persisted for decades and continue to shape daily life. Economic inequality, limited access to quality infrastructure, historic patterns of racial displacement, and rising living costs all intertwine to create environments where safety is constantly under threat. These factors make communities more vulnerable to crime, exacerbate the impact of environmental hazards, and limit opportunities for upward mobility, forcing residents to navigate a complex landscape where every decision from where to live to how to commute carries real consequences. The experiences in cities like Louisville, Jackson, and Gary reflect the consequences of long-standing poverty and underinvestment, while the challenges in Portland, Seattle, and San Francisco highlight how gentrification and displacement add layers of risk to urban living. Meanwhile, large metropolitan areas such as Los Angeles, New York City, and Philadelphia remind us that even thriving cultural and economic hubs cannot fully shield residents from high-density dangers and social inequities. And coastal cities like Miami or Washington, D.C. further demonstrate how environmental risks amplify existing vulnerabilities. For Black families considering relocation or even travel, these patterns underscore the need for careful planning, community awareness, and proactive engagement with local networks and resources. Understanding the unique context of each city, from historical patterns of segregation to modern-day socioeconomic pressures, allows individuals and families to make informed choices that protect their safety while still enabling them to pursue opportunities for growth, work, and culture. While the statistics may seem daunting, awareness and preparation provide tools to navigate these environments with resilience, empowering communities to not only survive but thrive despite systemic obstacles. As we close this discussion, it is important to recognize that these challenges also present an opportunity for action by supporting initiatives that address economic disparities, improve infrastructure, and combat historic inequities. We can contribute to long-term solutions that make urban life safer and more equitable for Black residents and future generations. Knowledge is power, and understanding the realities of these cities is the first step toward making informed decisions and advocating for meaningful change. Thank you so much for watching and taking the time to understand these critical issues. If you found this video informative and thought-provoking, please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our future content exploring the complexities of urban life and community safety. Your support helps us continue to bring these important conversations to light. And together, we can work toward awareness, resilience, and positive change in communities across the country.